So welcome to Game Plan Sunday. Today is October 10, 2021. Here with the crew. Had a pretty interesting week in the markets. To kick things off, I mean, it was really the talk of the town was Facebook. You know, Facebook had, basically took themselves offline, coming into the week, which was interesting because everybody was like, what in the hell is going on? We was in the chat room talking. I was like, yo, your Facebook working? I thought Facebook actually banned me because, they got a good deal of banning me. So I just figured that, they just banned me again. I be speaking too freely, right? But it wasn't that. Everybody was offline, and Cloudflare, who is our, provider here on our website and everything, they provided a pretty good explanation. Basically saying that they just took themselves offline. They had a lot of people speculating, but what I learned from Sunday, I guess, was a whistleblower situation where, they were basically revealing all of the craziness happening in Facebook that happened the day prior. So, I mean, I leave it up to you guys. I can only speculate, you know what I'm saying? You think that was just, a coincidence that, the coding and stuff just got all messed up? Or was it some type of punishment from government? Or was it Mark punishing, the government, telling them, hey, I'll take my platform offline? I don't know. I'll leave it up for y'all to speculate on that, put that in the comments and everything. I just like to hear what everybody think. I don't know, but that was a pretty interesting week. Kickoff to the week, and then Facebook stock was down. It caught the knife. So I mean, I saw the stock was down before the news even hit. And in fact, I was using Facebook at the time and had no problems with actually using it. But I saw the stock was down crazy, and I think Chris was in the chat room. A couple other people was in the chat, and I was like, "Yo, Facebook getting the knife, getting the Michael Myers. What's going on?" And so, I don't know, but somebody always knows something. So somebody knew, because they was already shorting the hell out of it before Facebook even went down because it was working. But they was getting the knife, so somebody knew something. Somebody always knows something, So I just find that to be pretty interesting here to kick off with that. And then we got some jobs, the disappointing job report that came out, which we'll cover some of that here in the review. So we'll cover all that in the review. Let me actually just see how we did on the indexes and the sectors kicking off. Yeah, Terry said they got clapped. Yes, they did get clapped. Topaz, you crazy. All right, so kicking the week off, man, Bitcoin led the way, 11.95%. So Bitcoin had a really nice rally. That was looking really good for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin enthusiasts. Oil was up 5.08%. Not so good on us consumers out here. I don't know if you guys seen gas prices lately, but it's just crazy right now. In fact, I just saw in California, they got $8 gas in certain places. I don't know if any of you guys in Cali, man, let me know what y'all paying out there. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, oil up. And, again, this is more inflation. You feel me? All of that's going to get passed on. The Dow Jones Industrials was up 1.22%. The S&P 500 up 0.79%. The NASDAQ was up 0.09% slightly. The dollar was up slightly, also 0.04%. Gold was slightly down, negative 0.23%, which is surprising, with all the inflationary crap going on. Gold has definitely been underperforming, has not been doing what investors have been expected for it to do. But we'll cover some of the gold charts here because I do have reason to believe that should start seeing some bounce in gold here coming up in these next few weeks. We'll see. The Russell 2000 was down negative 0.38%. Also was expecting that to make a decision this week. We still didn't quite get a decision. So I'll push that expectation for this week to see if we get some type of decision making on the Russell. It's been moving sideways the whole way through, but it's right there at that point where it has to make a decision sometime soon. And we just need to get that break down or, the breach up. So I think we'll be seeing that soon. As far as the sector performances go, energy was up 5.07%. Again, you got energy crisis over in Europe. You got oil prices going sky high. Just makes sense that energy's up right now. Financials up 2.28%. We got earnings kicking off with the financials this week, so we'll see what that's looking like. And those yields are going up also. Those bond yields are going up. So that's interesting. Financials moving up as well. The industrials was up 1.78%. Consumer staples up 1.49%. Utilities was up 1.39%. Consumer discretionary up 1.01%. Materials was up 1.01%. Technology was up 0.26%. And healthcare was down slightly, negative 0.31%. And communications was down negative 0.59%. And real estate was down negative 0.69%. So that's where the flow was at and where it wasn't at coming off the week. All right. And just actually going over some of the economic data that led the week as well. We had the PMI Service numbers. So I want to just cover that with you guys real quick. We're just going to go over what the respondents were saying. We can see down here what the numbers registered. Remember, anything over 50% is inflationary, basically. We had a 61.9% in the services PMI. And also on this chart, it shows you where the manufacturing PMI numbers are at as well, 61.1%. So these things are still flaming hot. What were the respondents saying? Transportation bottlenecks are increasing, resulting in longer lead times and missed appointments, right? So again, having those supply chain issues continuing. Let's see what else we have here. Constraints on logistics from a cost and availability standpoint continue to be an issue. So cost and logistics, again, more of the same dynamics. Lead times on electronics and computer chips have greatly increased. Outlook for higher education remains flat for most colleges, not including elite and Ivy League institutions. So again, those computer chips, gotta have them, you need them. You playing Xbox video games, like I was able to play that Battlefield beta this week. But yeah, so that was interesting. But again, you still got shortages on those. People still waiting to get their, Xbox and PlayStation devices. You need computer chips for all this stuff. So we're seeing shortages with that. What else we have? Retaining clinical and temporary staffing is critical at this time. With the Delta variant spread, we continue to see increased Rona cases, but not as bad as January 2021. So this is, healthcare here. They're talking about how, they're trying to maintain the clinical and temporary staffing. As we can see, a lot of people right now are getting fired because they are, rejecting the Rona juice. And so this is clearly another government failed policy initiative that have these grandiose ideas that the government can save the world if everybody gets the juice, get the thrax in the arm. That's just not going to happen. But, for those who want to continue to believe, this is causing more pain because people are not actually, everybody's not going to go for it. And companies are taking a huge risk. They're held at gunpoint by the government saying, hey, you got to do this or we're going to fine you, blah, blah, blah. So they're doing what they're doing from pressure from the government. And then they're firing their people. And again, when you talk to these people that's in the healthcare professions, they're really passionate about what they do. But you got to understand there's such a small level of these complex systems, right? They don't even understand what's happening at the top. They show up and do their job. That's what they get paid to do. They don't quite understand how the systems work and things like that. But like I said, when you take a step back and you can take a look at the shortages of, workers, we were seeing them laying people off before they were even talking about, doing mandates and stuff like that. I was just wondering, why were they laying off? They had hospitals that were having, debt obligations that they couldn't pay and stuff like that. It was causing financial strain. They was laying people off. And so to me, quite logically, it was one of those situations where taking a look at it from an economics perspective is that, the hospitals being jammed up and what the nurses are observing, their observation is that, oh, we're being overrun. In reality, you're being understaffed, right? They don't quite understand it. It's like, all these unvaxxed people are coming in and we're just going to let them die and blah, blah, blah. It's just nonsense, right? Just nonsense. And so it's just ridiculous. Even when, you talk to these people, they're like, oh, I got a degree in this. Nobody cares, right? What you're seeing is from a small, minuscule view, but you got to see the big picture view. You guys been running shortages ever since the pandemic happened. You haven't had enough people, staff, to deal with these type of things in the first place. And we're having mandates. You're going to have even more shortages of staffing issues, which is going to compromise the healthcare sector, period. And it's going to be bad for everybody. It don't have nothing to do with people people being unvaxxed, blah, blah, blah. In fact, in the other countries, we saw, like last month, we saw over in, there was one Asian country and one England country, I believe it was Norway, where they're saying that they're now going to tell their citizens to do not go to the hospital if you test positive for the Rona. See, what you have all this fear that's coming in there. Some people test, they're just running straight to the hospital. Where if you had like a common cold, you wouldn't even do that. You're going right into your medicine cabinet, go to grandma's medicine cabinet. She's going to hook you up with some liquor and some type of natural, ailments or whatever that can help you out. And then you'll be good in a couple of days. You feel me? You didn't run to the hospital, but people are so afraid they're rushing to the hospital. And that's causing, issues there as well. But I've seen in those other countries, they're saying they're going to tell people stop going to the hospital. Do not go to the hospital. Because when you go to the hospital, what do they do anyway? It's not like they're going to give you any treatment or nothing like that. And if you end up on a vent, then you pretty much got a death sentence almost. So yeah, you don't want that anyway. So you're probably just better off, just doctoring yourself up anyway. But you know what the story has to be, the narrative has to be. But I do want to point that out because that's a real situation. We're seeing these mandates are failing and these companies are firing people in the time where you need more staffing. It is illogical, it's nonsensical policies from the government and corporations are eating this up. Corporations are going to pay for it. The semiconductor shortage is impacting server delivery. Again, more of the IT shortages there, can't get the supplies. And, a lot of stuff come from Taiwan, right? They come from those countries over there. And I saw an interview this past week about the whole situation with China and Taiwan is starting to escalate even more. People don't understand, this whole Taiwan-China situation could possibly escalate into a war situation. Or, the U.S. might abandon them like how we did, the Afghanis. Who knows, right? But it's a real situation that's happening right now where, tensions are expanding. And so if China goes and invade, because they're talking about, they think that China's going to invade them boys and do them dirty, that's going to be really, really bad on the whole, everything, because everything that we use, again, is based off of technology. This is a whole danger about technology that people don't understand. I am all for technology. But if you have all your eggs in one basket and that thing go down, you're done. You're toast. So you can't have everything in the artificial world. You got to have stuff in the real world. You have some stuff in the artificial world because that's what most things are pumped on. But you got to keep some stuff out the system. You feel me? Because all it takes is an EMP or some craziness, and then you're done. That's why I don't mess with the digital stuff like that. You feel me? I think people got way too much faith in this stuff. I use it for what it's used for. The rest of it, I leave it up to the sci-fi people. Both domestic and international logistics are increasing lead times by 6 weeks for ocean freight and 2 weeks for domestic freight. So we're seeing, those lead times, again, shortages, supply chain issues, delays, people can't get their stuff. It's crazy. Inventory shrinking due to global shipping logistics being a seller's provider's market with primary focus on yield versus market expansion. Saying lead times have improved slightly over the last period, but still remain lengthy relative to pre-pandemic levels. We continue to see rising costs for both supply and service inputs. The effects of these price increases have the potential to significantly impact our operations through the end of the year, especially if seasonal trends prove exceptionally strong. Again, my question is, what about next year? They're not even talking about that. They're just saying for the end of this year. I mean, this is going to be upon us. But as far as we can see, this is going to be into 2022 and trying to be hopeful, at least until mid 2022, we're going to still see this type of stuff. So in essence, being optimistic. Business volumes remain remarkably high, although material shortages persist. Still experiencing very strong demand. Supply chain is still a challenge. Demand far outweighs supply for goods and services. Again, you have high demand and you don't have enough supply to meet that demand. Again, all of this is because of the government's intervention into the free market, right? You don't need the government to intervene, but this is what happens. We continue to deal with extended delivery lead times and high costs. Stress on the supply chain beginning to be reflected in the quality of products offered and delivered. Currently, buying strategy is to wait. Well, except with equipment as price increases are expected. So they're saying they're trying to wait this thing out. Prices is just crazy right now, right? That's just real interesting. And they also talking about the quality of the products that they have is going down. Again, this is how people become more poor. We all become more poor with the government's intervention because your quality of of living. Your living standards are diminished. And that's what he's talking about. Those products are being, again, the quality of the products, trying to get what they can get while they can get it. And then you're going to pay more for less quality. You feel me? That don't even make any sense. Continue constrained supply of many key product groups. Also, inflationary pressures in most areas of the business keep driving costs higher. Inconsistent Rona restrictions throughout the country are creating unstable business conditions that are concerning. However, business continues to be strong overall. Again, man, when this whole thing broke out, I was telling people, man, this stuff is just nonsensical. I was going to some of the fast food restaurants before they locked them down. They had plexiglass all over the place. You got, stickers all over the place trying to direct how people should walk and distance and stuff. And now you look at it, like half of that stuff is gone. They don't even use some of that stuff no more. It was a waste of money that, businesses had to cough up. None of the stuff actually worked and did what they said it was going to do. They said it was going to stop people from getting the Rona, right? They didn't. But that's the service PMI. We can see inflation is still upon us. This means prices are going to continue to get higher. Shortages are going to continue as well. So, the only thing I can tell people is just go ahead and get all the necessities that you need now. You feel me? This is to protect yourself from future price hikes. It's better off. I mean, think about it this way. You're going to have to use this stuff anyway, right? I told you guys, I bought my natural honey. I just bought, my honey here, and it was like $25 a jar. Now, I remember when this stuff used to be like $10 a jar. It's been going up. But just the beginning of the year, when I had last bought some, because you don't have to buy it often, I think it was like around $15 a jar. And I just thought that was expensive. I was like, that's expensive. And then I go get some like a month ago, and it was like $20 a jar. I'm like, geez, $25, excuse me. So I'm like, what is going on? Right. So you just go ahead and stock up now to, protect yourself from price hikes. You're going to need it any damn way. So that's what you might as well do. But what's interesting is that I don't know if I even posted it in here. Let's see, maybe I didn't post it, but I just saw a report talking about, let me see if I can find it if it's in here. Maybe I didn't post it in here. Okay, maybe I didn't post it in here. But yeah, so basically, big retail stores like Costco, Target, Walmart, with this whole shipping situation, which Topaz, she put down here for you guys, the crazy shipping crisis is explained right here. You can check that out. But these companies, they're actually leasing the ships themselves now to try to get away from, this whole situation. Now, I don't know how it's all going to work out. I don't know if they have access to ports that these other shippers don't have access to. That's not quite clear. I have seen some ship workers that are saying that it's a futile move for them to even do so because they got to use the same ports as everybody else. I'm not too sure how that's all going to work. I imagine maybe they're going to go to smaller ports or something. Not quite sure how that's going to work out, but they're trying to, take matters into their own hands. But it comes at a hefty cost. The cost of the containers and the whole ships is like so much money. You're talking billions of dollars here. So, it prices out, mid-sized and small employers and only big corporations like, Amazon and them. They'll be able to go and they got their own ship, right? And they can get all their goods and stuff on here. As far as logistics, how they going to get it off? I'm sure they got the work crews to get it off. With transportation, where these other companies having transportation issues, with Amazon, they got their own fleets, right? Walmart and all of them, they can do it, but I'm just confused with where the hell they going to dock at, right? If all the ports are jammed up and congested and having issues with getting those things off, where the hell are they going to be going to get their stuff off in time for the holidays? I don't know if y'all know anything about it. Definitely inform me. I would like to hear that because from my understanding, all these ports, especially all the major ports are jammed, right? But unless they're going to get some smaller cargo ships or something that can go at smaller ports. But if y'all know anything about it, y'all let me know. But that's what I've been seeing, that they actually are booking their own ships and their own containers. And it's going to come at a hefty cost just so they can avoid not having, shit for Christmas and the holidays. So, yeah, I think that's real interesting there. Also, what we just saw came in this week, the Southwest pilots union sues to block the airlines vax mandate. That's interesting, right? Because they're canceling thousands of flights, right? And I mean, you got, professional people. I mean, these people are not idiots. They just don't want the juice. You feel me? Like, they're not trying to get arm rate, B. And this is America. Like, you're not in a communist socialist country where, your government, your body's your government's, like you didn't sign up for the military or nothing like that, which is crazy, which I don't even agree with that. But at the same time, you could see like this is having an impact on everybody. If you're trying to fly somewhere, I mean, thousands of flights were canceled, this week. So you can't even go places. So everybody's been impacted by these nonsensical government, policies. And I did see a report about the military also. They had so many military professionals that have not yet got the juice, and they have deadlines coming up in November and also in December. Out of all of the branches, the Marines are having the most pushback. Marines, they kind of shell, you feel me? Like, my pops was a Marine, so, they shell, you feel me? Like and they ain't going for it, you feel me? And so they just probably just like, forget it. And if they don't get it, what's crazy is that they punishing them, trying to make them, instead of discharging them, they're going to make them get a dishonorable discharge. That's like a felony on your report, B. Like, you don't want that. But for liberty, man, people would, do what they have to do. So again, this is a dangerous fight that they're playing here, man. You're going to have a weakened economy, weakened military, weakened everything all over, putting billions of dollars in these, big pharmaceutical companies' pockets. Again, people had enough time to deal with this stuff to see how they, want to take on a risk. Your government cannot eliminate risk, period. We take risks. That's what we're here for. We're in the markets. We taking risks. You make some money, you lose some money. Like, you got to be, willing to take risks to make some money, right? The same thing with your health. I even came from the insurance industry. And, I remember, people wouldn't understand when they got involved in an accident why the insurance rates is going up. They was like, it wasn't my fault, he hit me. But you got to understand when they take a look at those risks, every time you get in your car and you get on the road, you're taking responsibility. So you bear some responsibility of getting hit by somebody else. Don't ask me about the logic. I'm just telling you that's how it works, right? So, because you can't stay at home and not take risks. So you got to get in your car and take risks. And every day you get in your car, I mean, it's possible that you're going to get hit, The same thing, if you're rich like Kobe and you got a helicopter, that's the safest on the damn planet. You're still taking a risk, that you could possibly go down. And that's what happened to the Mamba. So anyway, the government, lies like they can get rid of risk. You cannot eliminate risk. We all have to deal with risk. Once we assess the risk, we have a cost benefit analysis. Am I willing to go to this nice restaurant with my date, and willing to catch the Rona, right? The restaurants don't have no problem with getting people in there. Everybody's eating. I mean, if you're really scared of the Rona, you ain't going to be at no restaurant, right? Because you got to get in there. You got to take your mask off. I mean, what's the point of walking in with the mask on if you got to take it off to sit down? You feel me? I was in the movie theater, in the Bond movie theater, the same thing. Some dude in the back, he coughing. I'm like, oh, Lord, I hope he ain't got the Rona because he had there coughing. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's the risk that you take. You like, I'm gonna do this. You feel me? Cost benefit analysis. It's not for the government to decide. We decided. All right. So with that being said, we had the employment situation pop off. The U.S. employers hired fewer workers than expected last month as supplemental unemployment benefits expired. So this is interesting because they were thinking, those, central planners, that once they took people off of the unemployment benefits, they was going to be forced to come back to the workforce and, take these jobs that we have here, since we have such a job galore. But that didn't happen. Right. The expectation was, I think about 500,000 jobs were expected to be created. And instead, there was only 194,000 workers in September. So that was interesting here, what you guys can see. Now, what was interesting is where the jobs were, right? And I listened to a couple of economists, and again, they're like baffled. They don't know where the people are, right? They're like, where are the workers? They can't find them in the data. They're looking through all this data, and they can't make out where the hell are all these workers that they were expecting to come from. Their models was wrong. So I tell you, we put too much faith in numbers and data. Numbers don't make nothing real. Data don't make nothing real. They can make data, take shape and form the way they want to, but it doesn't make anything real. Data be botched all the time. That's why they constantly making revisions to this type of stuff. But I think as a society, we put way too much emphasis on data instead of really dealing with the real thing. That's why I am so happy about my studies in Austrian economics to learn about these things. So I still speak from an economic point of view, but we don't even need data to explain to you economic and social phenomena, right? It's just using reason and logic, and anybody can do that. But it is a skill. You got to learn about it, of course. But that's interesting. So what's interesting is in this job report, what they came through with here in September, just taking a look at where the jobs are lost at, right? Local government education, state government education, and private education. This is where the job losses were. So I don't know if teachers are getting fired or whatever the case may be, but somewhere in the teaching line of things, that's where a lot of these jobs were missing. Okay. But these are government jobs. So, people that's, depending on taxpayer dollars to pay their salaries, which is a burden on citizens because you need taxes for all of that. But a lot of the jobs were lost there. But then secondly, it was the healthcare. All right. And it said changed a little in September, negative 18,000. Job losses occurred in nursing and residential care facilities, negative 38,000, and hospitals, negative 8,000. While ambulatory health care services added jobs, 28,000. Employment in healthcare is down by 524,000 since February of 2020, with nursing and residential care facilities accounting for about 4/5 of the loss. Does that make sense for you to be trying to force a mandate on your healthcare professionals in a time where you're down over 500,000 jobs that just probably never going to come back? You got to understand, and I said this to all the previous Game Plan Sundays, that the fallacy of these economists is that they are expecting things to go back to normal, and it's just not, right? You had a lot of baby boomers that came out of the system. They're not going back. They toodles. You feel me? They on an island somewhere. You right? They out here. They retired. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to get them back. You got a lot of moms out there who have kids. Daycare is not going down. Daycare is not cheap. I don't know if any of y'all got kids, but daycare is out of this world. And so it's some beneficial to some families that, maybe the husband works and the wife stays home and care for the kids. You feel me? Either way, these jobs ain't coming back. Plus you have, the mandates. And so that is not a job creation type of situation. You feel me? When Trump said he was bringing jobs to America, what did he do? He cut taxes. That is a benefit to corporations to get them more capital so they can hire more, get more jobs and stuff like that, right? So you talk about policies that's going to be, productive growth, productive driven policies will be, better for an economy than, these, Chinese style mandates. Like, we're going straight, Chinese socialism or capitalism, whatever the term they want to call it, where it's this parental overview of society, right? In America, again, it's, a society that doesn't have, kings and queens, right? And it's supposed to be a free society, but it's definitely not free. We got NBA basketball players coming out now. Kyrie Irving, this guy losing like over 300,000 a game. You feel me? Like it's terrible. And I'm like, where's the outrage? People outrage over countries. They be going through all kind of stuff. And you want outrage for your own brothers and sisters right here in America that's facing a tyrannical government regime right now. And it's not just here in the U.S., but it's also extending beyond the U.S. You guys probably seen the whole global tax rate shenanigans that was in the headlines this week. I think Topaz posted. I can't remember. One of y'all posted it. And what was interesting, I had posted this little movie right here in our movies, films, and documentaries group. Yes, we have groups just like Facebook, except we didn't go down this week. All right, so this week should be it. Anyway, it's posted right in the news feed, man. This thing right here is called Atlas Shrugged. This is a movie. The link to the movie is right there, so you can actually just watch it straight from the site. Just boom, click it, and you in there. Straight on like Amazon Prime. So if you got Amazon Prime, definitely check this out. But the whole purpose of the movies, films, and documentaries group is another way to gauge you guys and help educate you through movies, films, and documentaries, so you can get caught up on all this knowledge and the wisdom. You feel me? I don't just make this stuff up. I've been studying, so everything I post in there is things that I watch. But I also encourage you guys, if you've seen something that would influence your, investment strategies and trading decisions and, understanding on finances and economics, you can also share those also in that group. But anyway, I want you guys to check that out. If you haven't seen this, it's called Atlas Shrugged, and it's by Ayn Rand. She wrote this book a long time ago. I think it was like in the 50s or so. But anyway, they wrote this, they made this more modern movie. I think they did it around 2013. But it is explaining all this economic phenomena, all the stuff that we're able to talk about. But you can see there's consequences to these things. You feel me? And the politicians, they never cover the consequences behind these grandiose ideas that they have. And quite naturally, people's like, yeah, I go for it. But that's why the normal, the normal progression of most people is that when you're younger, you're probably a Democrat. And then you probably get around your 30s, you probably turn Republican. And then you get a little older, you probably turn Libertarian, right? That's kind of like the little progression, because you start to learn more about these things. And yeah, quite naturally, you want everything to be free, but there's nothing free. You feel me? Nothing is free. So you got to ask, what's the consequences? So Janet Yellen and all them talking about this whole global minimum tax, a 15% global tax. You had basically the G7 countries, the G7 nations, led by the United States. Okay. The US led this whole thing to get all these countries on board. It was Terry posted. Okay, thank you. Yeah, led by all these, all these countries to get them to enforce this global tax rate, which is just crazy because it's not going to go down the way that they think it's going to go down. Understand when we talk about the state, we're talking about government. Anytime you hear any economists talking about state, they ain't talking about the states. They're talking about just government overall, like an old language they call the government, the state. And then, so you have, the state, you have government intervention or interventionist people, and then you have basically you have socialism and you have capitalism on two parts of the extremes here, right? So socialism is basically where the government controls the means of production of the goods in the society. They control everything, right? Capitalism is basically a bad term. The real term should be market-based economy, but most people just call it capitalism. So you hear market-based economy, that means capitalism. And market-based economy is driven by voluntary exchange of people in the society, including, corporations like you and I. We can start a corporation. We can make a business. We got Wallstreet Jackboyz. Wallstreet Jackboyz can go pop in. Maybe we can get, pop into something crazy like a Facebook and go public and all this other stuff, get money to deliver value. So people are showing up because you're exchanging value for their dollars. And so that's why that part of the market works. And then you have this whole interventionist situation in the middle where you have, part government, part freedom. Right. It's not quite socialism, but Louis von Mises says that middle of the road policies always lead to socialism. Point blank period, they will always go that way. So you got to part from that and stay closer to a more free society, because what ended up happening is that because you have this mixed society situation, what happens is that when things get bad, people blame capitalism. And so because people blame capitalism, you say, oh, yeah, capitalism, that's that mother effer. Yeah, we need to punish them, right? And so people end up bringing on their own serfdom because they ask for more regulations. So, yeah, we need to regulate them to stop what happened in 2008 housing crisis and 2001 and all this. So we need to stop that. So we need more regulations, right? And then, but society actually moves from a more free society to a more government ruled society. You move closer to socialism. And see, socialism is not a productive state. It is a consumption state. It's a pure consumption state where, a pure socialist society could never exist because you don't have anybody to produce what you need to operate that society. It's a consumption-based society, whereas a capitalist society is a production-based society where you're producing goods and services. And so everybody can survive because you got people that's going to produce, right? You got people that's going to make and grow your food so you can go to the grocery store and get all of that versus the government saying who need to do this, the government directing society, the government saying you need to do this and do that, and blah, 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 and it's going to be the government. It's like, these few men that's in government trying to play God to control, basically what God has ordained, which is the freedom of society to do what it does. It doesn't need government intervention. We all grew up with government, so it's just kind of natural to say, oh, we need government. So when somebody say you don't need government, it's kind of like blow your mind. Like, what do you mean? You got to have a government. Actually, you don't. It was natural forces in the market that automatically does that. Like, you don't need a central bank. We got gold. We have gold that actually regulates all of that. That's the reason they took us off the gold standard so they could cheat the system. You feel me? But anyway, this whole 15% thing they have is designed to try to corner corporations off where I guess they can't do what they call tax avoidance and stuff like that. Well, these people don't understand. Man, listen, rich people ain't doing nothing illegal to get rid of taxes, bro. It's all legal. They have money for accountants, okay? Accountants are the best in the business when it comes to, doing all kind of financial debauchery that the system would not be able to detect. Why do you think you see so many, firms on Wall Street that be, going down for big crimes? Or why you got all these big crimes out there? And people be doing it for years, and you never know, right? Because it's accounting type stuff, right? And I don't know if any of you guys taken any accounting classes before, but accounting is just it's like, no, let's just quickly get through accounting. We don't want to focus there because it just gets nerve wracking, right? But that's what these guys, they love it and they eat it up and they can do all kinds of stuff. So what rich people do, they keep the best attorneys on deck. They keep the best CPAs on deck. They don't have to damn cheat for nothing. You feel me? So they're claiming that this is going to stop that, and it's actually not going to stop it. But what it's really designed for is because they're moving more towards a socialist society. And it's not just socialism that they're actually going for. It's a one world order socialism, which is the ultimate end here that, Karl Marx probably, saw himself, like in his vision, that this one world order with the government controls all societies, right? And the crazy thing is that these 136 countries they came on board, but don't think that was voluntary, right? It's always by force. Hey, if you don't join board, we're gonna cut this off of you. That's violence. That's a threat. So then they'll just sign up to I don't want my people to die and nothing crazy. So I just sign up for this craziness. When in reality, like the small countries, they benefit from the way things are now, right? But because America is trying to, get more money to fund all of this socialist spending. Look, Joe Biden, they trying to spend, almost $4 trillion. Where's the money gonna come from, right? You see, that's why you have to get back to honest money. You got to get back to a gold standard. It's not about going forward with technology and all this other stuff. It's only going to allow them to cheat even more. All right. This is where it is. You got to get to the real that stops them from doing so, because the government don't make money. It's got to take it from its producers. So that's why I was telling you guys to watch this movie, Atlas Shrugged. It's three-part film. But when you watch it, you will be enlightened. You will come back and you will actually be like, yo, I totally understand that movie, because we've been covering a lot of these principles month over month, year over year. The only downside about this movie film that I don't like is that every freaking movie, they change actors. So you got to be like, oh, that's the person from the other movie, but it's a different actor. I hate that part about it. I had to slash the rating on this. But again, it's an economics book. It's a book about, the market, basically. And it's going to teach you about it in a way of a movie. So it's something that you could digest. It's not so nerdy. All right. We don't have to be nerds all the time. So make sure y'all watch this film and give me your review. Tell me what you learned. Tell me what you think about it. All right. But yeah, this is the talk right now. The whole 15%, global tax situation. It is going to be, I think it's going to be catastrophic. Right. Because what happens is when you have a nation, a market economy is an economy based off of competition. All right. It allows people to compete. And when people can compete, who benefits from that? Everybody in society, we benefit. How do we benefit? We benefit from better products and services. When they're competing, people are going to choose. See, the people are the ones who choose the winner in a market-based economy. That's why you need capitalism. But the people choose based off where they spend the money. People are not going to spend their money on something that's not a good quality. They're going to spend their money where they get the best quality at the lowest price. So then it causes prices to go down. Now, when you have this socialism, corporate capitalism, dynamic market-based economy, the interventionist system is the middle of the road. There is where you get corporatism that happens in there. And this is why capitalism always get blamed, because it causes nepotism to happen, where the government picks and chooses the winners, and they restrict competition from being able to exist. In fact, where you guys live at right now, you probably can't get a certain internet provider, right? Like where I'm at, we got Spectrum here. I can't get the Verizon Fios over here. I can't get the AT&T stuff or whatever anybody else got, because again, the government won't allow competition. They protect certain companies from competition. So if you have a more competitive place, it'll be a benefit to the entirety of society. Same thing with healthcare, with your insurances. They have certain insurance companies that can only compete in your state where you are, and while others can't. If they remove the red tape, allow competition, it'll bring prices down. But see, no, we don't have that. So the government, you have this mixed economy, and that middle of the road stuff, it leads to socialism, because guess what? People are going to say, it's the capitalist's fault, and they're going to ask for their own serfdom. So people are going to bring on their own, issues because we don't understand economics. So that's what we actually are having now. And it's a shame, because anybody who's ever read any of these books in history, I mean, it's spot on. Like, I mean, we've already see how this thing is playing off. I think everybody was just caught by surprise that America would be leading the assault. I mean, this is just ridiculous that we're doing it. And people haven't woken up to it yet. I guess most people don't want to deal with conflict, and they just want to, play video games, watch sports, and don't want to really deal with reality. But at some point in time, you're gonna have to deal with it, right? Your kids' futures are on the line. Everybody's on the line. You feel me? Like, don't you want your kids to live in a more free society? And you got to care about this stuff eventually. You can prolong it until it starts to impact you. Oh yeah, here go the article right here that Terry posted. Yeah, thanks, Terry. And you see Topaz posted. She said, "For those that don't click on ish." Yeah, because y'all know y'all just be scrolling through. You don't click and read. Like I told y'all, OG told me, he said, hey, if they were going to take over the world, you'd be the last ones to know. I said, why? He said, because y'all don't read. I said, what? You trying to call me a dummy? He was like, yeah, you don't read. And I couldn't fight him because he was telling the truth. At that time, I didn't read in my life. And now I read every damn thing I get my hands on. I have several libraries, and it's like my greatest assets. I love the knowledge. So you got to fall in love with the knowledge, man, if you want to, grow in that space. Not necessary for you to trade, because you got a lot of idiots out here trading and making money. But at the same time, if you want to learn more, then definitely join me on that voyage there. What else do we have down here in the headlines? Topaz also blessed y'all with this 11 hidden perks of owning stocks article that's on the website. Make sure y'all check that out. That's in there. And yeah, we got the debt ceiling situation. Just to quickly talk about that. Looks like they were able to extend that, I think, until December 3rd for now. So they're just going to prolong the inevitable. Well, maybe it's not inevitable. Maybe what I think is inevitable, that they're going to just, they're going to pass it anyway, right? They're going to, suspend it or raise it. And they're just, playing chicken right now, right? But I think eventually they're going to do, they're going to do what they have to do. Now, again, if they fail to do so, it will be catastrophic on the markets. And in the bond markets, we're seeing some of that risk being priced in. In fact, let me just pull up the bond yields here on the 10-year treasury right here. Well, this is really, really interesting here, because we talked about this. I've been showing you guys this development here. The floors came in around like July, bingo on those yields. Okay. And remember, yields, they play inverse to the bonds themselves. So if the bonds are selling off, if bonds prices are going down, yields are going up. All right. And if yields are going down, then bond prices are going up. So these going up, bond prices going down. So these are the yields here, but we see a big spike in these things, and it's rising. Okay, we're way up here now at 1.610 on a 10-year treasury yields. And that's major hurt right there, especially like in the housing market. Okay, so this is more issues that we have, because I took a look at the Case-Shiller price, and like home prices are out of this world right now. Y'all don't understand. They're far superior. Like, we're in a bubble, like show enough bubble bigger than the one from 2008. And it's interesting because, let me see, I think we posted an article here. Home price, here we go. Home price growth broke 45-year record in August. All right. A 45-year record. These are the highest they've been. Okay. And in fact, what they said in here is that they expect this trend to continue. It said home prices continue to escalate at a torrid pace as a broad spectrum of buyers drive demand for a limited supply of homes. Again, the supply demand, dynamic there. We expect to see the trend of strong price gains continue indefinitely, with large amounts of capital chasing too few assets. So you don't have enough inventory in the markets, but you got a lot of people that's trying to get into a home. It is pricing first-time home buyers out of the market. Homes is like, people's number one asset. And so you have a lot of people that's not able to get that. You're not going to get the growth that you want. And in fact, the GDP forecast has been revised lower and lower. I think they revised them down lower by like 4 points here, 4% points. So major revisions that we're seeing where the economy is starting to take a turn to the wrong end. It looks like we're going to, plow back through another recession, if you ask me, based off what I'm seeing. So anyway, all of this is just crazy right now in the home market. And when the prices were low, that's when people were refinancing their homes. But now that the yields are higher, you're seeing that, refinance crowd go away and purchases are down now. And so who's left to buy these homes, right? Again, you got the corporations, you got like Zillow and them, they're just buying up all the houses and they're overpaying for the houses. They're running models, they're running math models to buy these homes and they think they're getting a good deal, which is just weird. And then trying to resell these homes. But we're seeing a hijacked economy that is a negative to the entirety of society. So I think that, we just need to be cautious of these things, but we're definitely in a big bubble. And you guys can see the home mortgage rates right here on the website. They're posted here daily, live update feed right here. And I think last week this was down. This was like 3%, I think. So throughout the week, it jumped all the way up, just a 30-year. So yeah, those people who are at the bottom tier with credit, they no longer qualify for those homes because those rates are up higher. So yeah, it is not looking good, gang. It is looking disastrous, looking like a scary Halloween this year. All right. So enough of my spiel here with you guys on that. We can see aftermarket hours right now, everything is gleaming red. In the markets right now, all the futures are down. We got the S&P 500 down, NASDAQ down, the Russell's down, the Dow is down, gold is down, every damn thing is down. All right, everything is down. Bitcoin is slightly up at 54,855, and then oil is slightly up as well. I think it's retracing a little bit though, because it was up higher, over $80 a barrel. And so that's another thing, like, yeah, oil prices are just crazy high right now. Oh yeah, you're welcome on there, Jonathan. Good to see you here, my man. Yeah, that's right, Elder. Yeah, Bitcoin is up. And then you say, like, why is Bitcoin up? Again, man, like, listen, investors understand that the feds are about to mess this thing up. Money is going to be, money has to be worked. So understand that these big corporations, they can't sit idle on cash, okay? They have to work that money. They normally will put that money in bonds, okay? But because those rates are at zero, okay, they're not making no money off of them, and real rates are negative, or when you factor in inflation. And so you have to be a fool to be buying bonds right now. I just showed you guys, you go to yields right here, okay? And inflation, you got to think, inflation, I think the CPI numbers is like 4.6%, somewhere around 4.6%, but they're really higher, okay? But you got to understand, if you're buying bonds, let's say the 10 years, right? And if inflation is 4.6, you're only getting a 1.6, okay? So you're still negative. You have to beat the rate of inflation to generate alpha. You can't beat the rate of inflation, then, you might as well just buy the index, the S&P 500, right? So anyway, that's what they do. They have to work the capital. They normally will put that in bonds, right? Because with gold, you don't get interest, right? A bond is a safe haven. You don't do nothing. You just park it in there. You pick up your cash and everything. At the end of the 10 years, you make money, right? It's easy money. But now you got negative rates. So you have to be a fool to be buying bonds right now. So that money has to go somewhere. They don't like buying gold because gold doesn't pay an interest. You don't have interest in gold. Gold is a storehold of wealth to protect your wealth from diminishing its value, right? Because you hold it in dollars, you're losing a lot of value, right? The dollar's lost over 90% of its value, like in the past 30 years or so. So the dollar is just continue to lose its value as they continue to print money and do all these socialist schemes until they crash this whole thing, which that's what's going to end up happening. And in fact, on Facebook, I was engaging into debate with people about the fall of the Roman Empire. All right. If you take a look, go and look, these societies, all of them, they fall for the same reasons. They try to cheat the money system. Yeah, they try to cheat the money system. They were actually debasing the gold, okay? Debasing the gold with other metals like brass and stuff like that to stretch it. If you was in the streets and you know how to work the work, as we call it, the work, you got to stretch that work. When you get it to straight drop, you stretch it a little bit, put a little ingredients on it to stretch it so you can try to get some profit, right? You got to stretch it. So that's what they were doing with the money. They were stretching the money. They was putting the baking soda on it. You feel me? That's what they were doing to create more money. And it caused inflation. They couldn't figure out in the Roman Empire. They couldn't. This is why the Roman Empire fell. They couldn't figure out why every time they did that the prices went up immediately. They couldn't figure out why. And so they was trying to protect their military base because there was a military state. They didn't produce in the beginning. They didn't produce anything. And so what the Romans thought was, hey, we're just gonna take whatever we want. They were the real Jackboyz. They were going to different countries. They built up a military. And they were hostile. They went and took over all these other, countries, destroyed them in war and took all their assets. That's how they built their wealth in the first place. But they continued to grow their military because there was a strategy. Let's just get the biggest military. We just take over everything. But you got to take care of that military. And that's what ended up happening is that their military grew too big and they was trying to, they were so terrible, bro. It's funny because it's like history repeats itself. There's nothing new under the sun. That's what my mom used to always tell me. She said, son, there's nothing new under the sun. We've been doing this stuff, since the beginning of ages, right? But they were trying to keep the military in good standards and stuff, giving them the real gold, not the debase and give the people the other money, right? They was trying to do that and they just couldn't do it, man. So anyway, the system ended up collapsing. And we're seeing America operate the same way. It is just crazy to me. Anyhow, talk y'all head off about that. But taking a look here at the ES, like I'm on a weekly chart. Let me go to a daily here real quick. I still have those targets over there from JP Morgan's outlook, which they already hit that target, which means that they've already sold at that level when we got to that level, which was still on my chart. I haven't erased it yet. I'm going to keep it up here for quite some time. Okay. That's that zone right there. So once we came up to that zone right there, boom, their traders, they were selling, right? And then we got back in, got a nice blip up. We came back down. Boom. We got another challenge up to the 20 right there, and then boom, plow right down through 100, okay? But we held this Fibonacci 127 extension perfectly. We held that. We breached the 100, which scared a lot of people. But that's when you had those crazy chops in here, right? Crazy selling, because people start to try to short. They're like, oh, the floor broke. You got in too early, and you get these crazy whipsaws, right? But if you didn't have that Fibonacci extension from this zone to this zone, which projected right up here, you'll see that those levels held perfectly. All right. So, but then it bounced up right back to this level. All right. Bounced up right here to the 618, back to basically JP Morgan's target. And now we're seeing it reverse back some. So I think we're going to continue to see more chop, maybe even more downward pressure. The market is trying to get ahead of, this government policies, Fed tightening and stuff like that. So, I think we're going to start seeing some more of that here. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. All right, and you can see basically the same print here on the NASDAQ as well. We got an extension from this low to this high right here projected. We can see, price stay right there on that level here. Jump back up to the 50, got rejected. Now it's trading right there on the 100 floor right here. So we need to see if these levels are going to hold these zones here this week. That's basically what we're going to be eyeing. And then the Russell didn't actually really move much. Let's see. Again, it's continuing to chop sideways. And like I said, my hypothesis is that it's going to make a decision sometime this week. A lot of mixed signals in here. It's still a sideways movement. It looked like it's actually starting to break down. If you ask me, though, we could see prices starting to break underneath this zone. So you can see all these levels came to a sandwich right up in here. And this is the level that I was trying to, I was thinking we would probably get a decision last week that didn't come. So I think we'll get a decision this week. Whether the Russell will move down or up is yet to be seen, but I think we'll get that information this week. And we'll be able to see. Take a look at Bitcoin. All right, so the same thing, a much better scenario on Bitcoin here. So again, that money that will normally go into safe havens has been going over into Bitcoin. Might as well take that risk, get some of that money from over here. We had this floor right here, from this high to this low. we can see this extension, the 1272 extension, just like we saw on the NASDAQ and on the ES 500. We're seeing the reverse, the inverse of what we saw on those charts. Still the same level, still that 127 extension where there was a hit. Bitcoin is responding to this level here. It looks like it's actually, if you take a look, it's in an overbought territory here slightly. So the question is, does it hold? Is it going to be suppressed by this ceiling here? Or does it go to the next level, which is the 161 extension? So these are all possibilities, but it looks like it's starting to chop a little sideways up here as it gets into its extended territory. So it is going to be due for a pullback, but Bitcoin is a crazy mover. So it doesn't mean that it can't move up to the top here before it decides to come back down. Either way, it is at a major resistance zone here. So we got to see how it's going to behave, and it's overbought at the same time. So we'll be able to see how that plays out. So anything along the lines of regulation for Bitcoin, we'll probably smack that down. I don't think Elon Musk is actually having much effect on it these days. It's pretty much government policy type stuff. And if you think about it, right, if the government can come together with all these other nations on this one world order whole thing to start a 15% tax rate for everybody, right? Businesses that would normally go to other countries that got lower tax rates to get products and services over here where we need it for cheaper. That's why they do it. It's not for greed as they determine it, but it's just so they can save money. But if they can come together to regulate stuff like that, what make you think they can't come together to ban Bitcoin? You know, think about it. If it's a threat to them, they're going to move in a way that is not going to be beneficial to Bitcoin, right? No matter what they say. I mean, they may put out some articles and try to, be Trojan horse to Bitcoin so that people can say, oh, it's going to be good. But trust and believe me, the government is always going to do what they always have done, always try to control their monies, all right? But so far, Bitcoin definitely had a great past 3 weeks here in comparison to equities. So that's good for Bitcoin. Now, gold has not responded very well. Okay. Gold has not responded very well. We can see this downtrend here from a mile away on a daily chart here. We can definitely see this downtrend on gold. Hasn't moved too much, right? Let me just take it to a weekly though. All right. Now on a weekly chart, what you can kind of see shaping up here is that 100 moving average floor, it has been met. We are here. Okay. That 100 moving average level here. Okay. Kind of pierced through it right there. Came back to it again. So question is, do we hold this floor coming up? Okay. So even if it comes down slightly, I don't think we'll breach this floor. We can see momentum is starting to shift back yellow. You can see the red is selling pressure, but the yellow is coming back. We got a little arrow that's here. And so if anything, more sideways to solidify this floor before we get a bounce up, which I think that we can kind of see. Now, the reason why I also say that is because we take a look at silver, same thing. All right. Silver in the same way. And silver is at that right up under that 100, right? And so it's right there. And we can see the momentum is shifting back yellow. And when you take a look at in relationship to its previous highs, okay, and you take a look at equities and take a look at Bitcoin, where do you want to be a buyer at? You want to buy low, sell high, right? And so they talk about buy the dip. That's why when we had those big down dips, we caught a lot of buying because, investors was buying a dip. So when we take a look at, even stuff like from silver from this high all the way down here, I mean, it's relatively cheap, and so if you are a buyer, this is a good place that I think that we may see some traction in the markets this week. We'll see. We have to see how it's going to play out, but I don't think we're going to see too much more selling here. And you guys, we'll take a look at some stocks that you guys want to take a look at because I know we're right here at time, and then we'll call it a day here. But if you take a look at some of the gold names like KL, right? Kirkland Lake Gold, you can see that squeeze is on there. And I know this is one that Ron, he's been playing for a little minute. It's got a nice little squeeze that's on there. Let me actually zoom out though. Let me go back to the weekly here. So it's got a squeeze within a squeeze, a daily squeeze, and then we got a weekly squeeze that's in there. And you guys can see, so on a bigger time frame, it may be a slow mover, But I think that, this floor held, and this moving up. It's moving up. And we can pretty much see the same type of patterns in some of the other gold names and stuff like that. So definitely, I think we can get some. I think we can get some positive traction this week. Not too sure. We have to see. But if I'm going to be a buyer, I definitely want to buy at lower prices, and I think that we got some low prices to be buying at right now versus buying at the top of a market. All right, Chris, what you got? Chris said you got DBX. Chris is short all week, man. Chris, what you shorting all week? Moderna? Shorting the hell out of Moderna. Yeah, he was shorting the hell out of Moderna, man. All right. Dropbox. Yeah, it's been a little minute here. Let me clear this charts off a little bit. All right. So, I mean, just taking a look at Dropbox here, we can just take a look at the 200 moving average as a support zone in here. You call it the fade down, and it's in an oversold territory. That's in here right there. We can see that it's oversold. We can see the momentum is starting to shift back upwards. We got the sell off in there, and now starting to shift back up. Now, the interesting thing on this one here is that because when you take a look at the mean, whether that's the 8 moving average or the 9 moving average, in my case here, I'm using the 9, this line right here that changes from red to green, that also acts as support and resistance as well. So we can see that price caught underneath this right here, and we can see price got rejected every time up under here, right? And so the price came from this floor, it popped up to the mean, so that's reverting to the mean, caught another signal right here. So it's still underneath that mean right there. And so it's going to be important that it breaks and it breaches that ceiling. If it does not breach that ceiling, then it's going to continue to go down. Okay, but it's going to be important for it to breach that ceiling. It is an oversold territory, so this is where you dip buy, as they say. We got the dip buyers that was down here at the $27 range. This will be a counter trend type situation. Or it could turn into a short if it doesn't hold this level here. And the next zone would definitely be, again, the 200. So a little choppy play right there, if anything. But yeah, that's how I feel about that one. But yo, keep me updated on it. Let me know, if you're going to trade it or not. Adobe. Other situation here. All right, Adobe is looking just like Dropbox, and again, like these stocks like Adobe and Dropbox, it's that these stocks did pretty good in the work from home environment, the Rona lockdown type situation where businesses have to rely more on people working from home, and a more lockdown situation. You can see, right up in here is crazy rallies, but then as the Vax juice rollout, you start seeing employers, bringing people back to offices now. And so I think that, if the pandemic starts to reverse, as it is actually, cases are going down and everything. And again, we're learning more about it. But then you start to see sell-offs like this. And so I'm not quite optimistic on this yet. Now, should there be another wave, which again, going into winter seasons, upper respiratory viruses normally come back like the flu and, pneumonia. This is their season, coming into these months here. If things were to go back up, that's the only way that I'll be optimistic on this right here, because then employers have to rely more of being at home and, using online type of tools and stuff like that. And so these stocks actually did pretty well, both the Dropbox, Adobe, and some couple of other ones as well. And I think I got a watch list with all of those on them as well. So, but it is overbought, oversold. You can see that oversold. We see it start to reverse here a little bit, but it's definitely got some resistance to clear. So this will be a counter trend trade. You got these 2 levels of resistance right here, 3 levels of resistance that's going to have to clear out. So I like to take the path of least resistance and follow the trend until it ends, my friend. So that's what I see on that. And let's see, Jonathan got Netflix. All right. Yeah. And then Netflix here, topping out with the resistance zone up here. See, we caught that level right up here. Boom, topping out, getting rejected, overbought. It had a squeeze. That's was that whole power move, and it met into that resistance. So I think it's probably going to chop sideways up into earnings. So it's got earnings coming up. So it's going to be a play through earnings. It could get totally smashed up here at these levels at the same time, depending on what the NASDAQ is looking like. So yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. The squeeze is already firing off, but again, it's looking like it's already met its high here. So I don't know if I don't see, room for another high, but possibly. I think it's going to be one of those plays that you plan into earnings. If anything, maybe throw some spreads on that, for some sideways action, right? Because it's up against that resistance zone. So yeah, I'm more choppy on that one. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so Chris said you're looking to short both of those. Okay, so that's why I was just saying, like, you probably, I don't know if you're looking to short it right at the mean on those, but that mean is going to be the resistance zones for those, and they have to clear those. If they don't, then they're in trouble. Anybody else got anything else you want to take a look at before we bring the session to a close? All right. Definitely. And just a reminder for you guys out there, again, I told y'all to make sure you check out these films in here so you can get educated. Movies, films, and documentaries group. Check those out. The links are in every last one of those, so you can actually check out those movies, those films, and those documentaries to get caught up, get your knowledge caught up, so you can understand what's going on. It's a good way to download information just by watching a film. You're going to sit down and watch Netflix or some garbage anyway. You watch a CNN all day. Just, sit down and add some value to your life right here. This group, that's what that's for. So make sure y'all check that out. And for you newbies, man, check us out at Wallstreet, Jackboyz.com. We'll see y'all in the market this week in the chat room on the website. So you guys have a good one. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.